Co-Chair Kirstie Parker will be able to speak and address the United Nations General Assembly directly.
We are, however, essentially rich through our strong spiritual connection to our traditional country and our proud Indigenous identity continued for tens of thousands of years. As for all Indigenous peoples, the challenge for us is to translate this wealth into our ultimate well-being. There is no point to reconciliation without honesty, and I believe that's the experience of Indigenous people around the world. But I do want to shout from the rooftop that these are my people. These smart, dignified, patient, courageous, strong, kind, welcoming, funny and passionate people are my people. And we have the vision, the capacity, the energy and the passion to determine our own future.
I thank Kirstie Parker and Mick Gooder and members of the Closing the Gap Steering Committee.
Today, though, is about people power. It's really about everyday Australians saying that we are going to be the generation that is going to close the gap.
This year's Closing the Gap report is a sobering document, as is the report released by the Close the Gap campaign steering committee co-chaired by Kirstie Parker and Mick Gooder.
Australia is being forced to take a long, hard look at itself, isn't it, and to confront decades of racism.
The fact that a lot of people, or some people, seem to be very sensitive about even having the conversation says how tricky this is going to be, but that doesn't mean that we don't talk about it.
Has the Prime Minister had a change of heart? After rejecting the idea of Indigenous-only conventions to talk about constitutional recognition, he'll have a meeting with Aboriginal leaders about the issue tomorrow in Canberra.
Now he will meet with Noel Pearson, Pat Dodson, Megan Davis and Kirstie Parker to talk about what he'd already said wouldn't happen.
We hope to be able to persuade him to support the process that we've proposed with a bit of tinkering. Inevitably, we've put up a suggested process, a series of conferences or gatherings around the country coming together for some sort of national Indigenous convention at some point. It was great to be in the room with all different perspectives, but everyone was very willing and very open, and to hear the preparedness of people from different backgrounds and different perspectives who might not be natural allies to come together and have a conversation is very, very exciting. Stories about our people are for ourselves, to make ourselves feel that we've been heard, to make ourselves feel good about ourselves. It's for non-Aboriginal people to learn more about, in particularly in the context of Australia, the First Peoples of this nation, but they're also for the world in terms of the sort of shared humanity that we see, you know, from person to person or from Indigenous group to Indigenous group. So all of these stories are important, all of the audiences are important, and it starts and finishes with our people feeling a level of trust that our stories are accurate and that they treat us with dignity and respect.
What role do you think art has in showcasing our culture to the world?
Oh, I think art is a weapon for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in really reaching into people, I'm talking about non-Aboriginal people, and using that as a means to start conversations. We're talking about the sorts of conversations that go with what is this art about, what's the story that it tells, because once people know the story behind art and the stories that we have in our communities, I feel that they can't help but fall in love with us. I'm eternally grateful that our young people today do have, you know, they have this sense that it's normal for people to celebrate us. This is an attitude that we need to spread 365 days of the year, where people, you know, understand where we're coming from, they see us, they hear us, and they know that, you know, we're willing to share our stories so long as they're treated with grace and dignity and, you know, that they're respected.